And sorry that because there's one shuttle that is still delaying, they have not arrived. So in order to include as many people as we can, we will wait for them for a little bit. So we will make another announcement really, really soon. Thank you so much for your patience. On to the day 2 of Aspect 2018, and I'm the MC for today's keynote speech. My name is Kylie, and our keynote speaker, Andre John, he is an international well-known chef and the only Chinese chef who landed in the Michelin Guide World's 50 Best Restaurant and the Top Chef list. And we also have an informal ranking in Taipei, in Taiwan, because the restaurant he runs right now in Taipei is called Raw. And this restaurant is the toughest restaurant reservations in Taiwan. So let's give him the biggest round of applause to Andre Chan, our keynote speaker of today.
All right. So, very happy to be here. I'm more used to walking around when I talk. Yeah, because that's how we work in the kitchen. You know, we don't stand still. Okay. So today we want to talk about innovative cuisine. That's when everyone, when they meet me, and they always ask this question. You know, Andre, where comes all the ideas, and how can we can have so many ideas? You know, from Restaurant Andre, our first restaurant, we don't have a fixed menu. So every day we create new dishes. In our book, we document 365 days of Restaurant Andre. We create 186 dishes. And for the past 10 years, it's 186 times 10. That's how many dishes that we never repeat, and we're constantly doing it. Now at Raw in Taipei, we do exactly the same thing. We follow the 24 micro season in Taiwan with 100% of Taiwanese ingredients. And every micro season, we change the entire menu of the restaurant. So we've been open for 4 years, and I think we have, I don't know, 1,000 dishes. So where comes all the ideas? I think I want to start to talk about where I grew up. So welcome to Taiwan. I don't know whether you guys have been to the night market yet or not yet. Yes, you did. So you might recognize some of the some of the dishes we have here. How we turn these food into an innovative idea? Okay, from the street snacks. So I guess that's how I want to begin the speech. And people always ask me these questions. Where comes all the ideas? Where does all that creative inspiration come from? And how we can innovate, how the innovative idea develops, and how we make a delicious dish into an experience. Creating a dish is one thing. Understand the produce is one thing. Turn that into an experience is another thing. Then we take that experience, how can we impact our dining culture in Taiwan or in France or in Singapore or in elsewhere? So many of you might know or might not know, I grew up in the night market. Our family has been 3 generations live next to the night market. So it's almost 100 years we live next to the night market. So that's how I grew up. And every day you across the night market to the house, and you see hundreds of street snacks. And Shili Night Market is the biggest in Taiwan, you know, and they have not only food, but also other things, other knickknacks. And that's how I grew up. Shilin Night Market doesn't start as a night market. Many of you might not know, or even some Taiwanese don't know. It started as where the temple is. This is a very famous Taiwanese artist who paint Shilin Night Market. So you see the temple up there, and that's the Shilin Temple. That's where everything started. When people talk about night market, it's because at the old time, that's where people were gathering in front of the temple. Yeah, so if you have anything to announce, then you say, okay, you go to the temple and then you announce over there to the people in Shilin. Or you have any festivals, there's always the meeting point that's in front of the temple. Therefore, people pray there, and if their wish came true, and they would do a Chinese opera for the god in the temple as a return, as a thanks. So then people gathering around there, they just have to have grilled sausages and some sweets, and that's how the night market starts. But for Shilin Night Market, it's very special, and I can talk about it for 3 days. It's because it has a very unique point. It's a 24-hour market. So it has its own ecosystem. We're going to talk about the ecosystem of the Shilin Night Market. So it started from early morning. They actually has a market already. Started from 3 o'clock. It's a wholesale. So all the big loads of cabbages, the whole piece of pork, been unloaded in the morning, and then you start to have the vendors buying by 100 kilos, or the whole pork, and then they start to slaughter there in the morning. So from 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock, that's where the old wholesales sell it to the vendor. Then 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. That's where you have the retail, they sell it to the restaurants, and then also the housewife, they go to the market to buy fresh goods in the morning. But after 10 o'clock, so the peak hours from 6 to 10, that's when everybody goes. And after 10 o'clock, starting from 11 o'clock, it's gonna be a noon time. So what they do is they turn this cabbage or pork into something pre-cooked. Okay. So at 11 o'clock, some of them will turn that into a pre-cooked item. So which means that if 11 o'clock you go to the market and you'll see some pre-cooked item, then you just buy it and then just warm it up at home and you can eat. Yeah, so that's how they turn from loads of cabbage and into they sell the cabbage itself, and it becomes a chicken roll or something you can prepare easily at home, or stewed pork that you can just bring it home at 11 o'clock. And the other side, the retail side, they will keep selling the pork, or the vendors sell the pork, sell the cabbage, all the way until 3 p.m. They call it aftermarket. So you have after party and you have aftermarket too. What is the after? I almost said after party. What is the aftermarket? Is after 3 o'clock, they need to quickly get rid of whatever they have since 3 o'clock or 5 o'clock in the morning. So some of them they turn into product, and some of them they want to sell in a cheaper price. Yeah, it's still the fresh ingredients from the day, but maybe at that time you probably have a small shrimp instead of big shrimp. All the big shrimp, it's all gone, and then you have a small shrimp left. So so people go there at 3 o'clock, they buy it for dinner. So you can buy a half-price shrimp from the morning, still fresh, and prepare for dinner. And the other side, the pre-cook, they sell it at 11 o'clock, and another time they sell it at 5 p.m. So that's 1 hour before lunch and 1 hour before dinner. So people will go to the market and they'll buy the pre-cooked item if they don't have time to cook for their kids or families. And that's when 5 o'clock you have the family, you have another pre-cooked item. Then all this aftermarket, after that, what do? If they still have anything left over, what they do is they turn into a dish. Turn that produce to become a product, and turn that product into a dish. So that becomes where the night market kick-started at 6 p.m. until 1 or 2 a.m. And 3 a.m. and you start the wholesale again. So that's how Shilin Night Market it's unique compared to many different night market, and it creates its own ecosystem from the beginning until it finished. So here what I'm trying to say is, we talk about produce, transform into product, and then transform into a better product. So every transformation needs innovation. So you need to innovate. So how do I turn the fish become fish mousse? And from fish mousse become tempura. That's how it is. So innovation creates value. Yeah. So how this innovative idea develop? How do we turn the produce into product and into a better product? There are a couple of criteria about street snacks. First, it has to be cheap. Second, it has to be fast. People doesn't have patience because they want to see many, many stalls. The third is it has to be able to take away. Fourth, has to be simple. Nothing overly complicated. And last, it has to be tasty. I always said that, people ask me, does the night market or the snacks, the street food, give any inspiration to me? I said, in fact, it's even harder to create a street food than in a Michelin restaurant. Why? I tell you why. Create a street snacks, you got a budget of $50, 50 cents. You have to finish in 3 minutes, average. You have a paper bag to hold. And they use more or less 3 to 5 ingredients only. And then it has to be tasty local flavor. So how difficult is that? In a restaurant, we can use expensive ingredients, and then we can have a whole day to make a stock, and then we have 30 minutes to plate the dish, but now we don't have. So for me, how to create a dish with 3 components, finish in 3 minutes, and you have to be easy to take away. It's so difficult. And that gave me so much idea, when I create a dish. So yeah, and that's how I started, and that's how I come up with all the ideas. I want to share with you my creative process.
It's kind of a traditional fine dining sequence that after the main course, you gotta have a cheese course. When I first arrived in Singapore, I realized at the beginning, although you have the best French artisan cheese, not everybody appreciate it. Everyone enjoy every single course until the cheese. The cheese course seems like one of the courses that we cannot do anything. In respect of the French tradition sequence, we would like to keep it. But how can I inject something that really belongs to here? So I decided to do a look-alike cheese course. But to do that, we dehydrate milk Bavarois in the dry aging room. Exactly like cheese making. So we put it on the grill, so you have a nice ventilation, and it dries slowly, and then we flip it on different side until it's like half dehydrated. It creates a crust over it. The inside is milky, like a camembert. We see ourselves as like an artisan because we're making our own cheese. We should serve something very farmer style. So we get the hay from France, really nice hay, have a lot of different herbs inside. And then we dry them and roast it, and then we make a hay ice cream to serve with the camembert. For those who doesn't appreciate the traditional artisan cheese, and they could have something that is, similar. Very light, very refreshing, very sweet, and then totally unique. I spend most of my time in south of France, Mediterranean. I want to create that really very classic, or you can say Mediterranean or Spanish dish. You have a charcoal grilled squid with piquillos, the smoked pepper, olive oil. Very simple dish. When I was thinking the dish, but what makes you remember? Is that the squid itself, or it's the combination of the squid and the piquillos, or what is it? It's that smokiness, it's that burning edge that makes the whole dish to life. Nothing can be replaced with that burning flavor from the charcoal. So what about if I want to have an ultimate dish that I just eat the charcoal? And that's where I start to really work on it. Then we make fried charcoal dough. So we serve the burning charcoal with the fried charcoal dough. And then we serve a piquillos dip with charcoal squid. In fact, the squid or the piquillos in the dish, they were just accessories in a way. We designed that in the middle of the menu. So, sometimes when you see a normal menu, you started small and the portion gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. For a long menu, sometimes halfway through you feel it's getting heavy, you're getting tired. If halfway we can have a break or we can have something fun, that kind of lighten you up, freshen up a little bit, and we restart again. Every night, we have a guest finish very late. Most of the time, they finish at 11, 11:30, 12, or even later sometimes. I just feel that I want to serve something like breakfast and then say, hey guys, you gotta go. It's breakfast time. Kaya toast is the breakfast in Singapore. It's white toast, grilled white toast, and then you have kaya, which is a coconut and pandan. Then you have one slice of cold salted butter inside, and that's it. And that's kaya toast. Well, at the end of the meal, you serve coffee, of course, and then so if coffee, serve with the kaya toast. And that's kind of an ending or a beginning, but yet I don't want to serve a kaya toast like anywhere else. I still want to keep my French background. I start to make the white toast look like macaron. We do exactly the same way. We grill it, make our own kaya, and then you must have one icy cold salted butter inside. If you eat it with your eye open, it's kind of macaron. Yeah, but if you eat it with your eye closed, and then it's exactly the same kaya toast.
All right. Okay, so now we know that the theory as to how we turn the ingredients into a product and what is that innovative ideas transform a product into a better product. So since we started Restaurant Andre, we want to deliver an ultimate experience. It's not only a delicious dish, and every dish have to be connected. It's I always describe it as a script. So people sit down and then watch a movie for 2 hours. Same thing. You sit down for an ultimate dining experience for 2 hours. So how do we plan that 2 hours that you have good guy, bad guy, and interesting moment, sometimes a bit of tension. I think that's the most interesting part. And the moment that you walk out of the restaurant, it's like you walk out from a cinema, you feel like, wow, that just took me to another place. Or, wow, that was something else. So at Restaurant Andre, we create a philosophy called Octa philosophy. Octa philosophy is the octagons that we don't have a menu, but we have 8 different elements that represent 8 different dishes. So pure, salt, artisan, south, texture, unique, memory, terroir. So this is our menu. They print it exactly like this. Yeah, so you have this 8 words and it's always there, but it's every day they're never in the same sequence. So I would like to break it down so you know a little bit of the 8 elements and how we connect it together. So we started from unique. Does anyone know what is this? It's a vegetable. No? It's a carrot heart. Yes, it's a carrot heart. So how do we find out that, all of us eat carrot almost every day, but we never know that the carrot hearts look like this. Or we never know that how to pick a carrot heart. Is that a different type of carrot? No, it's the carrot that you have in your fridge. So how do we find a uniqueness from something that we see every day? If today I tell you this golden caviar, you say, wow, that's unique, because I never see a golden caviar. They are all black color. But in fact, what is unique is when you have a short hair girl amount or the long hair girl, that's just unique. But if you have a bunch of short hair girl, it's a one long hair girl, then she's unique. So it's not about whether this particular person or produce is unique. It depends on how you treat it, how you treat this a unique item. So we take carrot and we peel it in a pomelo way. So we don't prepare carrot in a carrot way. Then you will see a different dimension. You will see the uniqueness of an ingredient like this. So that could be done in many things. What I mean prepare in a pomelo way is you cut across at the front and the bottom, and then you just peel it like that. And then you see carrot heart. Yeah. So the elements of unique is to find a uniqueness from one thing that it could be you could be something that you're familiar with, but you actually don't know this product enough. Artisan. Artisan is it's a dish that we highlighted on what we should prepare for this particular ingredient. For example, the aubergine. I asked the aubergine farmers that what is the best way to eat your aubergine? Then he tell me that you should just simply charcoal grill it with a pinch of salt, and that's it. I say, okay. You know, if someone that is growing the aubergine for the past 30 years and they tell you that this is the best way to enjoy it, and you better do it. So we take that idea and then we present it in a way, in a way that this is probably the only dish that doesn't come from me. But we shouldn't have that chef's ego say, oh, okay, I want to do everything in my way. What is the best way to prepare the ingredients? So I want to have one dish that belongs to the artisan. If I'm the carrot farmer and then I grow the beautiful carrot and I pass it to the chef, and the next thing he does is make a carrot juice and then make a carrot jelly, I will feel heartbreaking. Because, you know, so sometimes I feel that as a chef, we forget that. We forget that how much the farmer treated their produce, and I want to respect it. So there's a dish that I always ask the farmers, how do you want me to present it? And I would prepare it in his way. Then south. So south is where I spend most of my time in France, in south of France, in Montpellier. I spent 17 years in France, and then there's almost 10 years in south of France. So it means a lot to me, and most of my influence, my flavors, it's from south of France. So it becomes one of very important elements of Andre's cuisine. It's not only the southern ingredients, but more of, you know, people are generous, they're loud, they speak fast, and flavors are big. And you never have, in south of France, you never have big plates with a small dish. You always have a lot of plates, and you know, like Italians or Spanish or, you know, Mediterranean. Texture is pretty straightforward. That we take one ingredient and we make it a different stage. For example, at this point, we take a white truffle, so you can eat from fresh until we dehydrate for 1 day later. So you will taste it fresh, frozen, mousse, grilled, and dehydrated. So one takes 1 second, right? It's fresh, and then you have 1 hour, 3 hours, 5 hours, and 10 hours. So for me, the elements of texture is not just to prepare it in a different method, but it's also like time traveling. So you see an ingredient from fresh to like 10 years later. You know, it's like you see how the kids grow. Pure. Pure, it's an element that we use a zero electric consumption, zero seasoning, zero cooking, just simply ingredient plus ingredient plus ingredients. Because I felt that we need to have one dish like this in the menu, because nowadays we've been craving for seasoning. What I've been craving for seasoning is, even today you say, you know, today I want to eat clean. I just gonna have a salad and a vegetable stick. Even you're having a vegetable stick, you're craving for that dip, that's dressing. So in fact, what you crave is that seasoning, not the vegetable itself. So how do we turn that into something completely pure? So, but I cannot do it for all the dishes. So I want to have one dish that we use, for example, watermelon, strawberry, tomato. So that become one dish. And they are red color, and they are different sweetness, acidity. That's how we pair, how we create a dish. Saying so many character of Octo philosophy, the idea is to have every single dish as a character in your movie. So you have good person, bad person, interesting person. So one dish that you use visual, and one dish you use your hand, and one dish we talk about the source of ingredients and talk about my memory. That intrigue your mind. It's not just food and after food after food. It could be super complicated, and it can also be super rustic. Salt is an interesting element. That this dish we use no salt, but instead we use a depth of saltiness, which means we season one ingredient with different seasoning of salt. For example, let's say we have asparagus. So asparagus is the main component of the dish. And then we season the asparagus with soy sauce or anchovy, olive, fish sauce, ham. All these are the depth of saltiness. And then you will realize that this asparagus tastes different, but still asparagus. But because you season with different depth of saltiness, it becomes it has a different look. It becomes, it tastes not the same as before. Almost like you have asparagus and then you have different spotlight from different angle, and that shows different dimension of it. So I thought it's a very interesting element when we put the salt in the menu. Terroir. So terroir in the French term is same plant growing on the different soil that creates different character. Yeah. So that's when it started when we talk about winemaking. You have same plant that growing on different mountain, a different angle, and then that give a different soil give a different flavor. So that's terroir. So how do we create a terroir is every time we create a different soil, and then we cook these ingredients in the soil. So the lamb doesn't taste like what it was before. An apple doesn't taste like what it was before. Even we have the same apple. So we bake it in the soil that make out of coffee, made out of tea, or made out of licorice, and then that turns the flavor into something else. Lastly is memory. I like this memory element. This is the dessert that we serve in our restaurant. It's not an ingredient. So this is exactly how we serve on the table for our guests. It's called a DIY cake. Yeah, why is it DIY cake? So obviously the egg is not the egg. The flour is not the flour. Butter is not the butter. Sugar is not the sugar. There was one night, there's a guest asked me, Andre, what's your favorite dessert in your childhood? And I stood there for like 10 seconds and said, I don't know. In fact, I'm not a sweet tooth person. I like savory. So I really don't have a dessert that I like. So that's kind of stuck on my chest. And then, one day I was just watching TV and I said, oh yeah, there's one thing that I like when I was a kid. Is when every time my family members, when they make cake, I like that batter at the bottom of the bowl, or the raw cake batter, or the raw cookie dough. That's something that I like, not the cake itself, not the cookie itself. So that's something that I like. That's some memory. So I say I want to make this dessert a raw cake batter as my dessert, so I can tell people, this is my childhood memory. So I really make a raw cake batter, and I taste it in the kitchen. That tastes horrible. That's yeah. But why I like it at the moment is because sometimes it's not about the produce. It's about that memory you have when people gather together, and it was the happiest moment. You have friends, you have families, and and you're doing things together in the kitchen. So we took that idea and then we created this dessert that we pour everything in front of the guest and then the guest mix it itself and then eat it. So everything is not as it look, of course. So it becomes something that really popular, very famous, and people always remember about DIY cake. So yeah, in Restaurant Andre, we believe that finding your own DNA is as important as how you cook it, because that gives the purpose. And like I mentioned previously, every transformation needs innovation. So you need to inject your innovative idea when you transform. In our book, Octo Philosophy, we talk about this one page, we talk about octagon analysis. And probably this is the only part that is more relevant to all of you today. Yeah, the octagon analysis. That's how we give a DNA of every single dish. So Andre, how do you identify this dish as pure? Or how to identify this dish as South? Or why not this dish belongs to another category? So we need to find their DNA. These two dishes has two different DNA. What we do is once we create every dish, and then we start to analyze it as our Octo Philosophy. So you see salt, terroir, South, pure, and they all reflect to another meaning. Okay, salt reflects to flavor, craft, imagination, structure, originality, and so on. And then this becomes the DNA of it. The first dish that you had on the right side just now was the vanilla, horseradish, and corn. Okay, and this is his DNA. You have very little craft, but it's more focused on the imagination of the originality of how do you put horseradish with vanilla and corn. How's that flavor go together? So you need some imagination and originality, of course. Then you have another dish that you see just now on the left-hand side. It was squid, kelp, and potato. So this dish, we talk a lot about terroir. Why? Because this is a salt element. So this potato was grown in the seawater in Noirmoutier, in the west side of France. So it's grown up in the seawater. So it has naturally saltiness and very interesting texture. And then kelp, squid. So basically these three things grow together in the same sea. That's the interesting part of it. So this becomes its DNA. The reason that we have this to analyze our dish is how to create an ultimate dining experience, a well-rounded dining experience. If you overlap these 8 different characters together, it should look like a perfect octagon. So that's when I mentioned that a perfect movie is you have, every minute you have new things come up, and once you focus on its tension, it's funny, it's good, it's bad. So we want to create this 2-hour experience that you have different focus point, and once you overlap it and you realize that oh, I'm not just storytelling for the all 2 hours. It's not just about produce for the past 2 hours. No, there's a produce, and there's a story behind, and there's an inspiration, and there's something imaginative, and so that hits different parts of your brain, and that makes the whole experience interesting. So again, produce, product, turn into a better product. Innovation creates value. how an experience impact our dining culture. I showed an example of, this is the wine book of wine journal at Restaurant Andre. I was just thinking, Andre, used to be a private house, so it's someone's house. And we want people, when they come into the Restaurant Andre, they feel going to Andre's house, not a restaurant. So I want to remove that tension. When you walk into a restaurant, you see peoples, and then you have to order. When you sit down, and then first thing the waiter does is pass you the menu, and pass you the wine list. What does that mean? That means you have to consume. You have to order, and we don't want that tension. We don't want the guests to feel that it's a bad thing. So, because everywhere when you go to a restaurant, after you order your food and your drinks, and you push that menu away from you, I'm done. And I don't, for me that is a tension, that's a pressure. So we want to create a very emotional moment that when you walk into someone's house, you don't look at the menu. You don't look at the wine list. We want people to feel comfortable when they come in. So once you walk into Restaurant Andre, you don't see tables and chairs. You see a reading area, and then you walk into a small staircase into the second floor, and then you're into a living room. So we have 3 floors. So you might sitting in front of the kitchen, or you sit in the living room, library, in the room, or different places. So you feel like a corner of the house. So we created this wine book. It's binded with a French wine journal. So people will keep reading it. So what we do is we bind the classic French wine journal, and then we bind our wine list in between. So guests will not only just order, they also look at it, and you can see it's a real wine journal. But then we have a story inside, and then you have wine, you have knowledge, you have my tasting notes on the book. So instead of people pushing it away, a lot of people say, "Sorry, can I hold it for a while? I want to have a look at it." So you kind of take away that tension, or someone is reading a wine journal next to your table, you don't feel like he's ordering. You don't feel like I'm in a commercial space. So that was the idea, how that we create. So after that, this is Restaurant Andre. We want people to create, to enjoy that intimacy when you walk into someone's house, in a restaurant. And different area has a different atmosphere. And this is some of the dishes that we create. Very personal. At Restaurant Andre, we don't have a fixed menu, so that allowed us to create crazy stuff. The left side, it's like a Japanese sushi, but we wrap it with onion. The right side is the fish and chips. Yeah. It's fish and chips, and we dust it with the apple cider vinegar, the apple cider vinegar powder. Yeah. Then you have the kombu, you have the vanilla and pumpkin taco. So it's an upside down taco. Yeah, so we create many dishes from Restaurant Andre. It allows me to not just give an experience, but also to pass the message that I want to pass. For example, we talk about there was one time we talked about zero wastage, the entire menu with the zero wastage. Well, we use everything from head to toe. Why we have to do this is because more high-end the restaurant is, more wastage they get, because you want only the best part. Yeah. So we becomes the crime of against zero wastage. That's why we want to do something, you know, to turn that image back. And if we are the one that started zero wastage movement, that means everybody can do it. So then we start to do a lot of things. For example, at the left-hand side, you have the meat on the bone. That is the leftover watermelon. So we pickle the watermelon and then we dehydrate it, so they look like a raw beef. Yeah. The right-hand side is a reindeer heart. Yeah. So we air dried the reindeer heart for over a year, and then we use it to make a tart with its blood. Sounds crazy, but but something that, you know, no one, just to wake you guys up a little bit. That's something that, you know, we don't normally serve, but we don't want to waste anything. Yeah. Then it's the bridge. The bridge, it's a Chinese restaurant that we have in China, in Chengdu. It has, sorry, my math is not so good, 860 years of history, the bridge itself. That's how it was. And then we built a restaurant on it. This is probably the only restaurant in the world that looked like this. Yeah. So we revived the bridge and turned that into a restaurant in Chengdu. Chengdu is the heart of Sichuan. And to highlight on Sichuanese cuisine, Sichuanese cuisine has been, people see Sichuan cuisine as hot, spicy, nami, but Sichuan has a 24 or 27 flavor profile, but it's always been forgotten. So now the flavor that is existing, it's probably 15, from 12 to 15. What I mean flavor profile is like a gompo, the gompo chicken. So the gompo is it's the flavor profile. You can do with anything, but gompo it's one. Or you have like a mapo tofu. So the mapo is one flavor. So we turned that into a restaurant. And we want to bring back this 24 flavor profile. So you're not only having spicy, chili, that takes only 3 out of 24. So there's a lot of dishes was forgotten. And that's what we turn the traditional Sichuan cuisine into something clean and bring back a lot of forgotten recipes. The left side is the Sichuan street food that sells like, you know, $1 on the street, but we want people to experience the street food. And some of them it doesn't exist anymore on the street, but you can still find it in the restaurant. You have some hot food, of course, and so yeah. So where's all that idea come from? Again, you know, we analyze a dish and the recipes, and we try to take out the things that is unnecessary, so you bring out the true DNA of itself. What the reason I talk about this is because how do we turn that dining experience into something that could impact our society, to influence our dining culture? Raw in Taipei, it's also one of the experience. We started 4 years ago at Raw, because since I was away for the past 20 years, In fact, the past 25 years, I never physically lived in Taiwan. But I always want to give Taiwan a gift, because we never have an iconic restaurant of our own. You know, we want to have everything that other people has. The only so-called international restaurant that we have, probably Din Tai Fung, that probably you know. Yeah, but I feel that we need to have something that as an iconic restaurant of ourselves and truly talk about our DNA. So I created a restaurant 4 years ago at Raw. So not only we use 100% Taiwanese ingredients, but also everything that is inside from Taiwan. From the wood, from the designer, from the contractor, from every single thing that you see in the restaurant is from Taiwan. All the staff, from a general manager to dishwasher, they're Taiwanese. Yeah. So, yeah, we don't have Italian managers or British bartender. No, everyone is Taiwanese. So we used 16 tons of wood to create the whole restaurant. As you can see, this is a gigantic wood sculpture and was awarded the top 10 most beautiful restaurant in the world. So you have to go see. I know the reservation is very difficult, and she just said, but it's a very casual restaurant. It's a very casual restaurant. I thought that Taiwan need to have something like this. And recently, because of the zero wastage movement, what we do is I kept all the shaving of the wood when we shave the restaurant. We make it into a beer. So we ferment it and then we make it into the pine wood chips and into a beer for our restaurant. Because when we first made it, and we have a lot of wood chips, and then I said, you know, we gotta find something with it, and we're not gonna throw it away. So we kept it in our warehouse, and until one day, I met a very good friend of mine. I'm sure you know the Mikkeller. So it is one of the most famous microbrewery in Copenhagen. And he said, Andre, let's do a beer. I said, okay, I got some wood chips. He said, what? that doesn't make beer. I said, no, we gotta do something. So that took us a year and then to make a beer out of the wood chips of the restaurant. And it becomes something that we serve. So we don't waste anything. Not only a fish head or a pork chowder, but also everything that we use. So that's the restaurant. Then we create all the non-familiar dish of Taiwan. Baked sweet potato with salted duck egg. The right side is our childhood memory, the ice lollipop. Yeah. Then we have the water bamboo on the right side, and left side is the soybean granola. Left side is our Taiwan signature dish. The right side is the Spanish signature dish. So right side we have paella. It's a Spanish national dish. Left side, in here we eat porridge, qingzhou xiaocai. Yeah, so that's Taiwan style of rice and Spanish way of rice. So we create a different version. Herbal tea and wild olive from Taiwan. Fried chicken at the right hand side and salad. Pineapple cake. So that's how we create and try to create an experience. And because I still remember when we first started 4 years ago, everyone was looking forward, say, oh, Andre's gonna have a restaurant here. When they taste the beef, or when they taste the vegetable, they say, Andre, wow, you know, this must be Iberico pork, it must be the best pork. I said, no, this is Schenken black pork is like 20 minutes from here. And they were like, what? So we totally took an opposite direction from all the restaurants. Well, at that time, everybody's still having all the imported items, and we choose to use 100% Taiwanese ingredients. And right after that, it becomes a movement that everybody's jumping on local ingredient. In fact, the things that we pointed, the next thing is the next week, and then everybody jump on it, is everybody go Shenzhen to buy a pork, which is good, which is a good thing, you know. And then, of course, we changed the menu. We used something like previously, we used the dragon fruit flour, purple passion fruit flour, you know, that tastes like artichoke. So we use that in our cuisine. It's something 100% from Taiwan, which we don't even know that. And I paired peanut butter, the Taiwan peanut butter, with sea urchin. So that tastes amazing. So we try to use the same ingredients that we have every month, but create it into something different. So for me, innovation creates value. Innovation creates a 24 micro-season movement. It creates a rainforest cuisine at Restaurant Andre. We want to help the Borneo stop the oil palm plantation. So we create a rainforest cuisine to teach these local people how to use their ingredients. And these ingredients can be sold to other country or turned into the medicines. So let them know that the importance of what they have. It's not just a rainforest, it's the source of income. So we we have a period that we serve only the ingredients from rainforest to let more people know about the movement and the importance of it. Innovation creates Ice Cream Mango campaign. You can search on the internet about the Ice Cream Mango campaign in Singapore. So long story short, we raised it 250,000 Sing dollar for the uncle. He's the oldest uncle in Singapore that's selling ice cream. He's 87 years old, and he's still selling the ice cream on the street. So we want to help him, and so we create a dessert that dedicated to the ice cream uncle, and everything that we sell that goes to the ice cream uncle. And it's a story that you can find in YouTube. And lastly, innovative ideas like zero wastage movement is part of something very important to me and for the modern days. So innovation creates value. Innovation creates zero wastage, 24 micro-season. And I think that's at the end of the day what the food's supposed to do. It's not just tasty, it creates an experience, and then at the end it has to impact our society. So innovation is a solution. Some people always ask me, what is a creativity? What is innovation? And I say innovation is solution. It's a better solution. It's not something abstract. It's something that you do, and then you find a better way to solve the problem. So today, I am very happy to have a speech here, and I hope to share the idea of innovation in the morning with all of you. If you still have time, you have to go back to the night market, and you think about what I just said. You appreciate that a little bit more than just the food itself. So thank you very much. Thanks for coming. Thank you.
Thank you so much for such an inspiring speech. Thank you so much. And according to the interview, Andre is not even allowing his brother to take reservation from him. This is how tough it is. Thank you so much. Thank you. All right, so now we're having a coffee break before we start our next session, which is a traveling exhibition session that'll be happening in the library, and also the poster session in the hallway. I hope you all enjoy it, and let's give once again a big round of applause to our keynote speaker, Andre Chen, and thanks for coming. Thank you.